That was a very hard time in my life. It would have been around 2015 at that stage. My father-in-law just passed away. So it was a hard time for my missus. You know, I had one kid. My wife was pregnant with our second one. And fuck, I'm like, man, I'm going to lose my house. Like, because, you know, you got repayments. I took a loan out for that gym. Yeah. And, it was a big mistake who I got into business with, because I brought my end of the bargain and he didn't end up bringing his end of the bargain. And he'll admit that now, because he admitted it then. And it's not his fault. It's my fault for going down that path as well.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me, and what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility.
Welcome back to the podcast from Lambs to Lions. I'm joined here by Shane Pace. Welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me, Reese. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, bro. Let's. I'm going to get you to give yourself a bit of an intro, because I always feel like I butcher it a little bit when we get guests on. So, who are you? What do you do? And give the listeners at home a little bit of a background as to what brought you here.
Okay, so pretty much those that know me know I've been a personal trainer for probably the last 15 years. I'd say 2008, 2009. Just your average bloke, I guess, but nothing more than just a personal trainer that helps. I've helped thousands of people over the years, I would say. I was thinking about it the other day. I've helped well over 1,000 people. And in saying that, a lot of it has been face to face. So
that's wild.
Yeah, I've just gone into the online space probably the last 2 or 3 years, and it's popped off probably since COVID. But generally, if you had to ask what I am, I'm an online / face to face coach.
It's pretty rare, man, to speak to someone that's helped that many people in person in a day where, you know, online coaching is everything. So that's a big testament to you and the work ethic you've put in. What made you stay in the one-on-one stuff as long as you have?
Oh, for me, it's hard to say no to people, right? So we were having this conversation off air. There's got to be a point in time in your career where you take a little step back and let the others, you sort of hand down the baton to the others and let them do the work, and, you know, sort of look at all the fruits of your hard work over the last sort of decade or more. And for me, I'm still in that transition phase, because I still typically work from home. Obviously online you can work from anywhere in the world, but I've got a studio from home. You know, we're popping a little bit over 100 sessions a week just between two of us. And we've got a new trainer on board that's starting next week. His name's Brad. So hopefully we can sort of palm off a few to him and get a few more, you know, new clients on board and whatnot. So I think for me, the step back and transition is about to happen. Like I said, let the other boys do the work. It's hard for me. I like getting my hands dirty. I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those bosses, let's say. I don't like to call myself a boss, but I sort of want to give my staff that example of I'm willing to get my hands dirty as well. You know what I mean? And that's my mentality. It's my mantra. I've been like that all my life. Kind of don't like it when I see so-called bosses just sit back and let everyone else do the work. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still a bit too humble to do that. But not saying that's not a humble thing to do. It's just, I feel like if you don't set the example for your staff, then how are they supposed to get to the standard that you're at? Yeah.
Do you feel like that might also be a bit of a control thing too?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a control freak. It's a detriment to me sometimes.
I think that's all business owners, bro.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's for me to let go. And it was hard when I've had Daniel work for me he's my cousin as well. And at the start, he started with me probably COVID. I'm not sure this mic is grabbing me, man. But anyway.
Just bring it a little closer. And so just point it towards you and you're sweet. So twist the whole thing.
Okay, we're sweet.
We're good.
Daniel's been working for me just before all the COVID stuff happened. So early 2020. And look, for me to give him rein at the start was so hard, man. I couldn't pull back. It was just like, you know, I'd message my clients, how did you go with him? And I know he's doing a great job. It was just more to see.
Micromanaging a little bit, yeah.
Oh, yeah, man, too much.
Yeah.
And it was actually cooking my head, man. It was stressing me out. And
it's way hard. It's way more stress than it's worth, bro. Like, it's as much as it's hard to pull back and let go, it's probably harder to keep micromanaging.
Oh, man, because you don't realize how much of the day you waste overthinking for things that don't even matter.
Yeah.
Like, you're thinking that this client is probably not enjoying the process and they're not getting value for money because they paid for you, and you're putting a whole scenario in your head when really it's not even happening. They're probably really happy with the new fresh face.
Yeah.
He's doing an amazing job. And to be honest, I'll get him to watch his podcast, and I'm not just going to give him a plug just because he's been a catalyst to me going to the next level in my business. And I guess I allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
But it's been great, and it's very hard to find good help in your business. So
that's something that's hard to find everywhere, bro.
Yeah.
In business, the right people are a big struggle.
Yeah.
The right people will fit really well, but getting that fit is fucking hard.
Oh, mate, it's hard. And again, being that control freak,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I am a control freak when it comes to my business because it's your baby, man. You've worked hard at it. You've gone sleepless nights thinking about, you know, how you're going to make things better, and you visualize yourself where you're going to be 15, 20, 30 years from now. And that's probably one of the biggest things. Like I use it with my clients. I use it for any person that I mentor. You have to be able to visualize a process. Right? If you can't visualize it, then how are you going to get there?
You know, it's interesting, man. Just a thought that comes to mind. I was talking to a friend the other day about, like, you know, you mentioned there that a business is a baby, right? And like, I fully agree, right? And, you know, like the stats on like raising children and shit, right? It's roughly 200K a USD, right? For the first 18 years of a child's life, right? How much more, like, I know I've put more than 200K into a business in less than 18 years. Like, if we talk about like investment and time, like, this thing could not be better described as a baby.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Having 3 kids myself, mate, I can tell you they
cost money.
They cost money.
Yeah.
And especially as the older they get, you can see how that 200 grand, by the time I think my kids' generation is, you know, 15 to 20 years old, I reckon it's going to be double that. Things are getting so much more expensive. And I mean, when you look at reality, you're spending, you know, that 200 grand, let's say, on your kids, you're not getting no return for that.
No.
But a business,
Yeah.
you know, you're investing something to get returns. So,
Yeah. So this is where I don't know, I've probably copped a bit of flack for it in the past where, like, you know, I talk about priorities and it's like, well, if your business is your baby, you've invested 10, 15, 20 years into it. It's like, I've said very openly that, like, I've got no option B. Or I've got no option, like, I've got no second guess. It's like, if this doesn't work, like, I got fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And like, people say, oh, but, you know, it's too extremist. You know, you can't go all that in. You can't be that extreme.
Yes,
it's like,
you
well,
can.
yes, you fucking can. You have to.
Have to, man. There's no choice. Like, I don't, and again, we spoke about this off air. I don't know how people jump into things with not full, wholehearted passion.
Yeah.
Like, don't do it. Like, just do something else. If you're going to go into something, that'd be coaching, and that'd be anything, jumping into any business venture. I see that a lot. Like, I have a lot of people, oh, we should do business together, Shano. I've got money.
Yeah.
I'll drop 100. I'll drop 200. You want $500,000? I'll drop it. I'm like, yeah, all good. Your money, it's good. That could help a lot, but where's your passion at?
Yeah.
I need to know where your passion's at, because then that means you're not willing to die for it. And
if all you can do is pay for it, like,
really, money means a lot to some people, but I think, like we speak about our business, like, you're building that from wholehearted blood, sweat and tears, man. Like, but your money is money. It comes, it goes.
Have you had experience in business? I know, like, how long you been in business? Not just in personal training, but like just running business.
16 years.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I'm sure in that time you've had your fair share of hardship and requirement to just fucking suck up and let's go.
Yep.
What's that look like for you? Because I'm sure that's built you into where you are now, and just, I guess, also the way you see business.
Yeah, I mean, where do I start, man? I started as a personal trainer. It would have been late 2008.
Yep.
And it was at a time where personal trainers were popping, man. Like, you would hear every second commercial on the radio was, oh, jump on the AIF, all that. Get your, you know, your ticket in 8 weeks, and
This is when it was really like cereal box stuff.
cereal box, man. You know, so I mean, look, I actually hopped on that, but it was all the other courses and experiences I did afterwards that helped me. But I just needed to get my foot in the door, and at the time, it was all that I knew. So I was an electrician before that for 5 years. Got qualified, moved on. Everyone from the age of 14 would say, mate, you should be a trainer. And back then it was sort of a frowned upon job.
Yeah.
I mean, especially having, you know, ethnic parents, they want you to do a trade after school. That's the thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just listened to my dad and got into being an electrician, and I hated it, man. I hated it. I was very good at it. Like, still I keep in touch with my old boss now, and he says, you're one of the hardest workers I've ever had come through my doors. But that was just the nature of me anyway. I'm not a person that likes to let people down. So when I finished being an electrician, I got into being a personal trainer, and I worked at the old Phoenix Fitness clubs. Yeah, I worked at the Water Gardens one, and I was very lucky there. I got in at a time where, like I said, fitness was popping. There were 40 trainers to compete with there, and you're paying your rent, and it was, you could imagine it was a dog-eat-dog environment.
100%. Yeah.
I came in there and I basically wiped the floor clean. I become the busiest trainer with another guy. He was pretty busy as well. Pretty much within 3 or 4 months, I was like doing 70 odd sessions a week, charging not a full high ticket price, but I think back then charging $70 to $80 a session was fairly.
I was out of the norm.
Out of the norm when you'd go into Good Life or Phoenix as it was then, and they'd give you pricing and you'd have to charge $60 for 45 minutes. And I looked at that and said, $60 for 45 minutes.
Yeah, no.
Why am I going to work for that? I've got to pay tax on that. How is this person going to value me if I'm charging $60?
Dude, this is interesting. Let's dive into that a little bit, because I feel like a lot of people, when they first start in the industry, any industry rather, they like as an hourly rate, that works out to be what, $70 an hour thereabouts?
Maybe close to 100. I think because I was charging 80 at one point. So I started off with that $60 for like, it would have been 2 or 3 weeks, and I was like, wow, wait, I worked out the math. I'm like, I'll do all these hours and I'll only make $2,000 a week.
Yeah, so this is my point though, right? Yeah. Where did that come from? Because that thought process is the polar opposite to what most would assume. Yeah. Because most people leave a normal 9 to 5 and earn $18 an hour. Yeah. Right. And go, oh, well, fuck, $60 for 45 would be sick. Yeah. Where did your money mindset come from that like that's not enough?
You know what? I always talk about this too. No one ever taught me a money mindset, or no one taught me how to save or anything like that. I was actually I was a terrible saver as a kid. Yeah. Like I worked at Macca's. I was training footy 5 times a week, playing on a Saturday. So I didn't have much of a saving money mind. It was more or less like I had a hustle mindset. Okay. Like I had that mindset of like always hustling for it, always working for it, and I hated working hard for something and for it not to pay off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so I worked so hard with my footy. Being a shorter statured guy, I was always back to the wall. I felt like that. So for me, going into a place like that, I wanted to make a quick impression that my motivation, as bad as this sounds, it wasn't about the client. It was about me coming in and making a bit of noise.
Yeah, proving something.
Yeah, just to say, hey, you guys have all been here 12 months before me. I'm going to come in, I'm going to make an impact here, and I'm going to wipe the floor clean, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So I've always kind of gone in with, you know, being humble and being very helpful to people that I could, if I could lift them, lift them. But I think it was my way of leading, you know, and my way of leading is always like setting the example, setting the bar high, and probably just being that hardest working type of guy. Like I'm not very... Going back to your question, is where did I get that money mind? I didn't think it was about the money. Mm-hmm. It was about more me being the most financially successful guy amongst 40 people, saying I earn a bit more than you. It was a little bit of a chip on the shoulder. Mm-hmm.
You always had a competitive nature?
Yeah, like I'm probably less competitive than what I used to be. Yeah. I wish I could get that back.
Where do you think it came from initially?
Footy, man. Yeah. Footy, because I was always scrapping for it. So I mean, at the age of footy is a big part of my story. Yeah. You know, I started footy very late. You know, I started at 12, 13 years old, where some kids had already played 100 games. And within 2 years, I was picked to play for Victoria, which is the top 25 in the state. When I was a little bit of a man child, so I looked 25 when I was like 14, and I stopped growing relatively young, so I wasn't always the shortest guy.
Yep.
I sort of was the shortest guy once I got to about 13, 14.
Yep.
And then I had to really work for it, and I got that taste of success at a really young age, like not playing footy for too long, and then within 2 years being picked as a top 25 in the state.
Yeah.
I put down to me being a man child because it was easier for me. I was a lot more well developed than other kids, physically and mentally. And then those kids catch up when you get to about 18. You see that kid that was probably your size or shorter at 14.
Yeah.
Now he's 6'1".
Yeah.
85, 90 kilos, and he runs as quick as you, and he's as stronger than you, and he's better in the air. So I had to work for it, and I didn't want to give up. I'd never give up mindset. My dad was very big on me not ever giving up. He supported me, man. He travelled all around the country with me to play footy, and I didn't want to let him down.
Mm-hmm.
Again, his opinion of my football meant a lot. That was the only thing. His opinion meant not much for everything else, but for football, I really knew because he invested a lot into me, and he didn't push me. He just invested. He was like, I'm side by side with you. So I always knew I had him, and for me, that competitive nature came from a young age. I don't like losing. Like we'll play down ball. I hate losing, man. Table tennis, I'm not that good at it, but I still hate losing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to being competitive in my field of work, I like yourself, man. That you inspire me. Like for me, you and me just talking for 5 minutes, talking to Scotty about what you've done in business and whatnot, and seeing what you've done here. That's inspiring. That to me doesn't make me competitive. So there's a different edge to my competitiveness. I want people to do well. Yeah. But I don't. I'm just competitive with myself. I think. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that. I look at the dude in the mirror and go, mate, are you leveling up? Like I sound like a faggot here, man. Yeah. Sorry to say it like that, but like, dude, like I look at myself some days and go, you doing everything you can for your kids, for yourself. Are you a fraud? Are you just saying you're all these things but you're not? And that G's me up. Yeah. You know, that makes me level up.
Yeah, man. I think correct me if I'm wrong, bro, but I think at some point you would have had that feeling of like, fuck, everyone else is catching me in height, in stature, in weight, in speed, etc. Yeah. And again, there might have been a point where you're like, fuck, being smaller sucks. Yeah. But in hindsight now, it's probably built the grit that you've actually allowed you to build a business.
I always say it, like a lot of, if I could have $1 for every time someone said, man, if you were taller, you would have made AFL, you would have did this, you would have did that. I actually don't think I was good enough to play AFL. I was a good player. I would won multiple league best and fairest. I did everything you could. I squeezed blood out of a rock. Yeah. But if I had $1 for every time someone said it, I probably wouldn't be right here in this seat. I'd be in the Bahamas, I'll tell you that. but yeah, look, I had to work harder. Man. Like it's just simple. It's just not me being as short as I was. Someone that's 5'8" playing footy has to work harder. He's considered as short. So, mate, I'm 5'4". Mm-hmm. Imagine how hard I had to work. And you're seeing guys catch you. Like I had to work extremely hard. I was getting up before school. I was doing a lot of sprint work before school, then going to school, then doing weights after school, then going to footy training. So I was an overtrainer from a young age. But look, for me, it gave me my work ethic now. So if I didn't put all that work in then, I mightn't have what I've got now. I doesn't matter what we speak about, I resort everything back to my experiences in sport. And that's why I say it's so important if you've got kids or something like that to get them into a team sport as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like an individual sport's good, but a team sport, you get to lead, you know, and I was a leader of my club.
And you also get to be led.
You get to be led as well.
Which is a fucking good skill.
100%. You get to see what a standard is. Yeah. Like you can be put into a place where you have shit leaders as well.
Of course, but you need to learn how to recognize that.
Exactly. And for me, I never had a bad leader. So all the coaches that we had, like I played just local here at Altona Football Club, I had all good leaders that played a high level of football. So I only knew that high standard, and everyone at that club's the same. So you see a lot of people, I mean, leadership to me is massive. Like, it's huge. And for me, leading at a young age was important. So I've just taken that into my career, and hopefully it's held me in good stead, and it will for the next venture.
So from those Phoenix days, man, how did that lead to where we were going as far as like some of the hardest parts of business you've had to learn?
Yeah, so after that, like I said, I got pretty busy within 3 or 4 months. Probably got a little ahead of myself and thought, all right, this is just going to be easy as I'm going to keep on, just piling up the clients. And got to a point where, as you know, you can only do so much yourself. So I moved on. I started working from home. I said, I don't want to pay rent anymore. Imagine what I could do if I brought people to my house. And did that. Would have been, by that stage, would have been late 2010. And I had a guy work for me. He was pretty good, just didn't have the drive, right? And I was expecting this person to come in with my passion, my drive for my clients and my business, and he didn't have that, right? And probably he lasted maybe about 8 months before I said, mate, just move along. I was trying to scale back then, right? And I probably should have not been so fussy with who I had work with me and work on building his leadership skills a bit more. He was a bit too self-invested in himself, but not the team collective of how we're both going to grow. Essentially I'm employing him as a business owner, so I want to grow my brand. And anyway, long story short, let him go, and I went back to just working on my own again. And I was pushing out 100 sessions a week. And I was like, far out, man, I can't keep doing this. It's good money, but you got no life. So I thought, I'll open a gym, and went in with, I don't know if you recall me speaking earlier though, there was another guy that was busy with me at Phoenix. And him and I linked up. We got into business together. And again, it doesn't bother me watching this. I mean, we're still mates now, but he just didn't have the drive that I had. We got into business together, and after about 12 months of having that gym, it was called Strong Life Fitness Clubs. We built an altitude room there, and it was niche. It was really good. It attracted a lot of footy players, and mate, I had Essendon Footy Club training there, I had North Melbourne training there, a lot of Western Bulldogs players, and you could imagine every local football club wanted a piece of it. Yeah, from the northern suburbs all the way down here. Once they start seeing, AFL clubs training there, it's kind of like, well, we need to do that too. And it was the big thing back then, altitude training. Obviously the increase of red blood and all of that, and there's benefits behind it. And a lot of people ask me, is that stuff all fake and whatnot? And I'm like, well, it's not, but you really need to upkeep it, and you need to keep using it, because if you're not in that climate for a long period of time, well, you're going to lose the benefits out of it anyway.
Pretty quickly,
so you'd want to basically live in that climate always to really get maximum benefit. As you know, you probably know a bit about it yourself anyway, but it's it was a good venture, but again, I got into business with someone that didn't work as hard as me, and again, I'm a control freak. I'm not going to say it was perfect on my end. There were probably things I should have gave him a little more rein, but I just didn't think he was capable. And that, again, to my detriment, being a control freak, I just said, mate, we've got to part ways. This isn't working. I want to go out on my own. I'm sure you want to go out on your own as well. And that's what happened. We both went our separate ways. Went back to working from home again.
Did you take an exit on that business? Like,
I took an exit. I took an exit. Lost so much money, man.
Yeah.
I lost about $200,000. Had a rental property that I had to sell, which I was in a bit of strife. You know what I mean, financially. That was a very hard time in my life. It would have been around 2015 at that stage. My father-in-law just passed away. So it was a hard time for my missus. I had one kid. My wife was pregnant with our second one. And I'm like, man, I'm going to lose my house. Like, because, you got repayments. I took a loan out for that gym.
Yeah.
And, it was a big mistake who I got into business with, because I brought my end of the bargain and he didn't end up bringing his end of the bargain. And he'll admit that now, because he admitted it then. And it's not his fault. It's my fault for going down that path as well.
Yeah.
Like I enticed it. I said, let's do it. We can make it work. And, look, I mean, in hindsight, it was probably the best experience I ever had. Like, because again, it built resilience. You know, I already had that built resilience from football, from, you know, getting rejected as I got older, and that always stays with you. Like it gives you that little chip on the shoulder. You don't forget it. And then this was the next one, because, you know, as much as I don't care what people think, you do when things get.
And there's that level of gravity to it for sure.
Yeah, there was, and there was a lot of people thinking we went bust. There's a lot of people saying all kinds of things like, man, like I bumped into some guy and he said, I heard someone put a gun in your mouth and handed over your business. And I'm like, well, what? A gun in my mouth? Like, no, man, we both parted ways. Like little things like that. I'm like, man, what are people spinning? Like, how do you even a gun in my mouth? Like, dude, like where the hell did that even come from?
Yeah, we don't live in power.
No, man. I love that show though. It is. I'm at season 4 at the moment. So anyway, we moved on, you know, so 2015, I had to like just scrap, get back together.
Man, that financial stress.
Yeah, it was
How
bad.
did you cope?
It was bad, bro. It was the anxiety. I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know when people said anxiety. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean anxiety? Just go train, like eat well, be healthy. What do you mean mental health? Like, don't be weak. Piss weak, man. And I went through a bad mental health struggle. It was more of an anxious mental health struggle. It wasn't like I was depressed and, you know, wanted to off myself or anything like that. It was more, man, my head was constantly racing. I couldn't sleep. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just go, I can't breathe. Like I'd say to my wife, I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't breathe. Right. And it was pretty bad, man. Like, because I'd never experienced that before. And I was always helping people with anxiety. As you know, we get a lot of clients that come in with mental health. That's probably the biggest thing. And I say it was the best experience because now I know how to coach it. You know, now I know how to help people with it, especially my clientele. Like my clientele are very, very financially stable people. Yeah. But to get to where they've gotten to, they've probably gone through an experience I did, but don't talk about it. Yeah. And a lot of people just throw that mental health. Oh, I got mental health. Like, no, mate, you've got an experience probably. If you dig deep enough, there's probably something you haven't either let go or you haven't dealt with or you haven't fixed, man. You just can't patch it up and move on and throw it under the carpet. You've got to actually look back and say, okay, what happened? How am I going to move forward? You can get out of that rut. And I think the best thing for me was, and you're going to laugh here, I'm like, I'm just going to get absolutely shredded.
Yeah, no, it helps. I feel that.
Fuck. Yeah. And I'm going to blow up online. Yeah. And that's going to make me feel better because I'm digging myself out of the hole, right? And like, if you go back to look at the patterns of me growing up, it was all about digging yourself out of the hole every week back to the wall. So this was no different. You know, I go back to the drawing board and like, how do I dig myself out? Because I can get all these clients in. That's not a problem. It's not going to fix me financially. But if I'm not financially free, this is going to be hard. I'm not going to enjoy what I do. So I need to actually get in a good financial position so I can really focus on my growth.
What's going on, everyone? Hope you're well. I won't keep you too long. I know you're hopefully enjoying the podcast. And if you are, let us know. It would be really greatly appreciated if you can jump on, give us a quick 5-star review. You don't even need to stop listening to the show. If you're on Spotify, you can do it in less than 10 seconds. And it does help the show grow a lot. It helps us, you know, get a bit of confirmation bias that we're doing the right thing. And just to say thank you, if you guys do that, we're going to be picking one person every month to guest spot on the podcast that has shared, liked, commented, subscribed, and interacted with what we do. Big thank you. Let's get back to it. Yep. Right. So let's talk some of the stages or the tactics of like 200 grand loss.
Yep.
You know, selling a house.
Yep.
What were some of the things you did to rebuild and, you know, take the business to a place where it is now?
Yeah. So lucky enough, that 200 grand loss, I sold that house for about 120 more than it was actually that I thought I was going to get.
Yep.
So it's kind of a win. And I see myself as only like 80 down then. Yep. And I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm sure people have spent 80 on worse shit. So I moved on and it was just about hard work, man. It was just building the business. I didn't have a system in place except work hard, right? And then I thought when I get to a certain level, then I'll start putting some systems in place And look, I got carried away with the control bullshit again. I was doing over 100 sessions a week on my own. And it was like, you're looking at the money come in and you're like, fuck, this is great, this is great, this is great. And I was working off adrenaline because I was trying to push myself so far away from that situation that I had that I'm like, you kind of forget that time passes. And then you're like, fuck, man, I need to scale. I can't scale just me on my own. Before you know it, man, 3 or 4 years went past and I'm like, fuck, man, like I need help online. I've got too many clients coming in, doing over 100 sessions a week. Yeah, this is not sustainable, you know? So we're talking then now probably 5 years where I'm like, mate, I just got to take the plunge, stop being a bit greedy with your money and just start investing into having people work for you. So that's where I got Daniel in. Like I look back at 2020, it took me 5 years to really recover, man, to be honest, from that situation when you look at it, because I wasn't really in a position, let's say, you know, it happened 2015. So it took me a good year to really build my business. So 16, 17, 18, 19, still wasn't in a position to employ someone where I could have just done it. But like I said, I was trying to push myself so far away because I've got myself into a good spot here. All right, let's bring someone in. Fuck, I find it hard to trust people. So all these little games were in my head. But mate, you know what? We just got to do it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like I'm not going to lose my business over it. Yeah, just gonna be another experience, and I think I had a little bit of PTSD from the previous experience. So I was very, like you'll see, even my circle of friends, man, I didn't let many people in, and to let someone into, like we said, our baby, that's huge, man. It's huge for me. I'm a lot more easier with that stuff now, though. So got Daniel in, and mate, the last 2 years we've scaled. You know, now in a position to open the Be Elite Training Club. We've got the Be Elite clothing line happening. It's in the works now, and the Be Elite subs. So building my own supplement line as well. Yeah, it's just, again, another form of scaling. And I think in business, if you can't scale, you don't run a business. And
very true.
You're just a subcontractor, man.
Or not even, bro. You're just a hobbyist.
That's all you are.
You're a hobbyist with a few. I've said it before on the podcast. If you, especially in fitness, bro, if you're all you do is work for clients and trade time for money, you've got 50 bosses.
That's right.
They are your boss.
100%.
Right? Like they are you're at their beck and call.
Correct.
It's fucking a shit place to be.
Man, I didn't have a day off, like PT once. I had 1 day off in 12 months. And I looked at it as like there were a couple of times I was crook or not feeling well. And I'm like, man, I've got 22 sessions today. I've got to call 22 people and tell them I'm not well. Like, it's 22 bosses, right? So you got to shift that mindset. And I'm coaching a couple of trainers at the moment. They're just coming up in the ranks, and you have to kind of not look at those clients as your boss.
Yeah,
they have the privilege of having you as their coach, right?
Run it as a business.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
You have to run it as a business, man. You can't imagine having 40 or 50 bosses, man.
Oh, bro, like it sounds absurd to people that like, you know, normal 9 to 5. Like most people hate their boss and they're fucking annoyed at their boss and stuff. It's like, well, bro, if you're doing that for your clients, like that's your mindset to them.
100%.
You're never going to give them all they need anyway.
No.
Because you'll feel like you're just going to hate them.
Yep. And I got to that point. I got to that point of resentment. That's where I said, you got to get someone in. You got to get someone in. You got to get a fresh face in here. It's not that I was getting stale. It was just so much demand on me. And it's a good problem to have. I mean, it's a good problem, but if you're not smart and strategic with it, then that problem can be a burden.
Yeah.
You know, a good problem can become a burden. So
basically, you mentioned there when you were coming up that you probably held off on getting systems and getting the help you needed.
Yep.
Looking back at it, like what are some of the systems you wish you had earlier?
Oh, just having someone there. Like, I'll give you an example now, right? So we use Daniel. I won't use Brad because he's only done a little bit at the moment, but having Daniel there is not just a coach. He's almost like a PA as well.
Yeah.
And having someone there that is pretty cluey with everything is pretty handy. And if you don't have someone on board that's cluey with everything, well, you got to teach them, right? Because I think you can't be a one trick pony yourself as a business owner. 2, you do need to employ people with skill sets that you don't have.
Yeah.
Right. So there are a lot of traits that Daniel has that I don't, that I see in him and say, hey, mate, like I can work with that. I didn't have that in my business. Now I do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, okay, let's build you in this area, because in 4 or 5 years, you're not going to be a coach either. Right.
Yeah.
You're going to run shit. I'm going to move on to the next venture. And this is, it's a hard one, man, because I look back and you ask me the question of what do I wish I'd done? I just wish I did what I'm doing now earlier. That's all, right? So scaling a business.
Yep.
Like I said, you're a slave to your business if you're not scaling, right? Yeah. And now I am. And I have this conversation with mates of mine that are so busy as coaches. You know, one of them, he's amazing. He's unbelievable. But he's in a position now where he has to scale, right? Because he's so busy, he's in such demand, because, again, detriment to him because he's so good, right? And you know what's hard as well? Finding a coach that has a lot of empathy, that gives a shit, cares about their clientele, and that demands that, like, people will just have you in such high demand because of it. And I think, again, that's a detriment to me. I put my heart on my sleeve or wear it on my sleeve, and it's brought in a lot of business. But at the same time, man, like, not everyone's going to be like that. Not everyone that you employ. And what I needed to understand was, like, let's say I'll use, again, Daniel as an example because he's my only staff member at the moment, but he doesn't have the same empathy. He's not going to have that. I'm not going to have what he has. So you just got to roll on and not be that control freak. Let people be who they're going to be, and it'll work itself out. Just put good systems in place that your clients, your business, everyone is getting a great service. You know what I mean? So that's what I pride myself on. Like you said, if I could go back, I wouldn't change anything but do what I'm doing now earlier. So,
Do you think now that, like, you've released the control a little bit, do you think you can look back at it with some hindsight and realize, like, some strategies to do so? Because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is letting go. So how did you let go?
I don't know, man. I just let go. I guess there was a point in time where I'm like, you have to do it. Like, you have to.
What was the
trust.
alternative? If you didn't let go, what was the alternative?
I'm going to keep on working my ass into the ground, and I'm not going to have a life, and I'm not going to be able to progress. Like, I would no way have been able to build what I'm building now.
Yep.
You know what it takes to build something like this. Like, you walk in, you've got an amazing facility. Even this, man, the podcast space, like, this takes work, man. You know, and there is no way you would have been able to structure this up and be able to then have the headspace to go and give your 110% to the client downstairs.
No way.
There's no way. So you need to employ staff that you trust. And you're not going to trust them at the start. They've got to earn that. Yeah, I agree. Right? But you just got to go with your gut. You can't, I mean, you should have good enough. You're going to interview people, right? So you should get the gut feel. This person's going to fit my business. And most of the time, some people will bullshit to you in the interview. You've probably experienced it. Yeah, but
I reckon if you're a good business owner, your gut says a lot.
It will, man. And you'll know straight away.
If you don't listen to it, fucks you.
I don't know if you got a girlfriend, married, kids, whatever.
Yeah, I've got a missus.
But when you met her, it's like, this is going to be the one. Like, my wife, I've been with her for going on to 16 years. So since I knew her, I've been in business. Yeah.
And she's seen through all the shit.
She's seen
all the
shit.
Success. Yeah.
She's been right there by my side. And I knew she would be like that from when I met her. Like, within the first 2 months, I was like, mate, this is the one. That's it. I'm not looking back. And it's the same when you employ someone, like it should be. It should be. Yeah. Right. Now, you're going to get experiences where relationships don't work. Break up with a girl or whatever. That happens too. You had the gut at the start and then it ended, right? Same thing with business, right? Same thing with partnerships. Same things with everything in life that requires anyone else involved other than you, right? Well, you and someone else. So I look at it as you just got to trust your gut. Don't flinch. Just go with it. If you're feeling it, go with it. If not, well, there's parts of business where okay, mate, we got to move you on. Let's get
Yeah.
a new coach in. Your clients will be okay with that.
Yeah.
You might lose some, you might win some.
Yeah. And fuck, bro. That is, I can tell you, man, like there's been times in business where it's like, oh, I've got a gut feel on this
Yep.
for the worse.
Yep.
But I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm shooting from the hip a little bit. We're
Yep.
a little bit in a spot where we need to make some decisions. Fuck it. We'll just let it happen. And 6 months later, it's
Yep.
like that gut feeling comes back like, told you so.
Yep.
Like, surprise, motherfucker. I'm here again.
Yep.
And yeah, bro, I don't know how to coach it. I don't know how to give someone any strategy on how to trust gut.
Yep.
But I guess I think
You
summed it
generally
up,
know.
You know.
You know, man, like one thing in business too, man, you can't be afraid to pull the trigger as well. Like,
Can't be afraid to lose.
can't. Because if you don't lose, as cliche as it sounds, you're never going to learn.
Yeah.
I've lost so many times. Like I said, I've lost from a young age. You know, I've felt and tasted like ultimate success individually
Yeah.
as a footballer, and then the next year felt probably the worst rejection anyone could feel, because I was on such a high,
Yeah.
and then by the next year you're told, mate, we're not going to go with you. You know, we can't really knock anything. It's just your size,
Yeah.
right? So then I go into business and I feel the pinnacle, right? I feel it. I get so busy as a PT. I think I'm the bloody kingfish in the pond.
Yeah.
And sorry. And then I go into business thinking
Yeah.
I'm all that, and then shot in the face, right? And then anyway, we move on, and now I'm in my next venture. Without those experiences in life, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, because I trust my own gut. I trust myself. You know what I mean? So I know I'm not going to let myself down. So just got to keep on rolling with the punches, man, because what's life without that adrenaline anyway?
Yeah.
We do it because we love it, but we love that. We love seeing something grow.
Absolutely.
Like we got into being personal trainers, coaches, whatever, because we wanted to build bodies. We wanted to build mindsets. And I relate all that to business as well. Like, you just don't want to jump into a business and then it's just going to just sit there and just float. Like, you want to see that seed grow, you know? So I don't know, man, it's the gut, man, it's huge.
What are 3 traits you think that all business owners should have?
You have to have resilience, man. If you don't have it, then you're not going to last. There's no way. Like, that's the number one. Like, there's 2 that I find are number one, but resilience is number one, because you're going to get more bumps than smooth sailing roads. It's just business.
Yep.
If you're not cut out for it, if you don't have the resilience, you're not cut out for it. Simple. Next one, you got to have leadership, right? You got to be a good leader, because eventually, if you want to grow your business, then you got to be able to lead the pack. You got to lead by example. And if you're a poor leader, then staff is going to just follow suit, you know. So can't really think of a third one, man, to be honest. I think of those 2 things all the time. I mean, I guess the third one, you got to have that work ethic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a basic fundamental. If you don't have the work ethic, then piss off. Like, don't do it.
Don't play in
know?
the game.
Yeah, pretty
I feel you,
much.
man.
Yeah.
With where Be Elite is going at the moment, obviously you said you're opening your own facility. What do you see? Let's try and forward project a little bit here, because you know yourself better than anyone.
Yep.
What are some issues you think you might face in this new venture? What are some of the challenges that you think that you have to prepare for, you may be a bit excited for, or you might be a bit nervous with?
Yeah, so I think the dynamic of my business is going to change a fair bit, especially the face-to-face stuff, because we're going to specialize in a couple of different areas. So obviously we're going to keep the online. There's going to be with that top tier membership, you basically get a coach, you get full access to the gym. So we're going to have it's like semi-private PT classes. So we understand that, you know, personal training and getting coach and all of that, it's expensive, right? But if we do it in like a semi-private setting, then it kind of it does devalue what a coach actually is, but it allows that person that's maybe thinking about hopping into getting a coach one-on-one, it just gives them that little
Bit more
start.
accessible.
Yeah, right. So, and you're not working with 30, 40 people in a class. It's probably like 8 to 10.
Yep.
Right. So we're going to specialize in, and I haven't seen it done yet, but you generally get classes where it's all HIIT training, cardio, this, that, whatever. That's just, you're going to have that as a class there anyway, just as a, you know, if you want to do some cardio, you want to jump up and down pretty much. It's not like I'm not massive on it. I love HIIT training and things like that. But hypertrophy and training like that, you don't generally get in a class.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to implement that. I'm actually adding like actual machines in the classes so we can, you know, teach people about proper muscle stimulus and things like that, not just lifting the weight from A to B.
Yep.
Properly designing your body, right? So I think we're going to build a clientele and a market that we haven't seen on my side of town, sort of Caroline Springs and all that, because it's so saturated with group fitness.
Of course.
And as you know, the group fitness stuff there is all about jumping and bouncing and getting sweaty and going home, right? But as you would have seen as well, I get a lot of kickback from those gyms.
Yeah.
Oh, I've lost 20 kilos, man, but I got no muscle.
Yeah.
My body looks shit.
Yeah.
Like, I've got no shape. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're on 1,600 calories.
Yeah. What do you expect?
And all you did was sweat and chew your muscle tissue up. So we're going to teach you how to build it. And we're going to teach you how to enjoy actually training and learning. And I mean, that will bring a different clientele and a different market. We still want to push towards the one-on-one stuff, but I think going back to your question, the one thing I'm going to expect to see there is at the start, everyone's going to ask for me. That's just the way it is because it's my gym, I'm opening it or whatever. But I'd imagine 6 to 12 months in, people will be coming in asking for my coaches, right? And that's what we need to build because unfortunately, I'm starting again, right? Even though I'm pulling a business and typically just grabbing this business and putting it in there. I'm grabbing this business and I'm trying to put that business on steroids.
Yeah, and take you out.
Take me out. So that's going to be,
fuel.
Yeah, I understand there's going to be a process there and I can't help everyone.
Are you nervous or excited for that?
Oh man, I'm excited. And this is, again, another, because of all the learnings I've had, the way even I'm building the facility, I'm not even stressing out. And I've been pretty calm and collected. And again, I put it down to all the experiences I've had leading in because I mean, this is easy now. I've put systems in place and it tick the box every day. I remember building the last gym, Strong Life. I was a mess. I couldn't train for 8 months. It got hold of me. Like I said, I had some mental health issues, more questioning myself a lot and anxiety. You know what I mean? It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like a depression type where I wanted to clip myself or I was thinking bad thoughts like that. It was just more or less like, oh, what have I done and put myself in this situation and not prepared properly? Yeah. And preparation's massive. You know, I wasn't ticking any boxes. I was just winging it back then. And I was only 26 years old. I was probably a immature 26-year-old because there's some guys that are 26 that are like, man, they're well ahead of their time. I don't think I was. I thought I was. And now it's seamless, man. It's just seamless. Like, and again, that's having someone help me in my business. Like, I'm not coaching nowhere near as much, man. I'll be lucky to coach 15 sessions a week. Yep. You know?
So you bought back your time. Bought back your freedom of thought as well.
Pretty much. And then I think any business owner would say success is built up freedom, right? Like there's finance, that's great. But that comes and goes. You're going to have times where you're making so much money, you get financially secure. That's why we all do it. Right. But I want freedom, man. I want life freedom. I want to be able to hop on a plane and just go to Europe with a family and see life because we don't live here long enough, man. Yeah. We don't live here long enough to just constantly work all the time, although we love it and we're addicted to it. At the same time, I think we're addicted to just seeing this baby that we've built just move on its own.
Yeah, that autonomous nature.
Yeah. 100%.
I think that sums it up pretty well, man. Like I think the financial security, like I'd be lying if I didn't say like I don't scale the business to make more money. Yeah. But I want to make more money to buy freedom. Yep. I want to have the option to do nothing. Yep. Like it's that option.
What's your idea of freedom? But like, do you see like, you know, traveling? Is it just kicking back, scratching your head?
I think this is contextual to the situation.
Yeah.
Because for me to answer, I can forward think. I can guarantee I know my answer will be different. Yep. In 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years.
Yeah,
but right now, my idea of freedom is coming in here and doing fucking work because it's a choice.
Yes.
Like I don't have to work. I choose to work.
Yep.
right? And that's my idea of freedom, of being like, well, my biggest passion, the thing I want to do is let me be free to work.
Yeah.
Right. And I have to say that to my missus all the time. Like, I like working.
Yeah.
That's my thing at the moment.
Yeah.
But I know that freedom for me in 5 years does not look like me working in an office. Right. Freedom to me in 5 years looks like me calling 2-3 people a week, just checking in, making sure that my general manager's doing what they need to, the ops manager's doing what they need to, and the company's growing.
Yeah.
Right. But I look at this in a pyramid, right? You've got technician at the bottom, person that does all the work. You've then got a manager above that. You've then got a leader, right? Then you've got essentially an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right. Leader and entrepreneur is where I want to spend my time.
Yeah, for sure.
Managing and doing the shit, less so.
It's so hard to find the leader in your business that has an entrepreneur mindset. And if you, and if you do, they don't last that long with you.
Oh man, that ain't going nowhere. I fucking rope you in. You're not going anywhere.
But yeah,
I'm very lucky, bro. The people I've got around me, like I've hired appropriately.
Yeah.
You know, for the better part of the business, I've hired really well, and it's paid off.
And I think quality over quantity as well.
Yeah, run lean.
Like I rather run lean, and like I said, at the moment, it's myself, Daniel, and Brad starting. Brad's going to be quality. You know, him and Daniel have a different. They're just so diverse.
Yeah,
different. So we're going to get two different elements of what a coach is. One's all high performance. The other one's you know, body composition. So we get pretty much me as a coach. I get all of that. So I get a lot of athletes, like high-end professional athletes, but I get a lot of people that want to change their body composition as well.
Yep.
So both these two guys are literally one half of me each, you know what I mean? So if I can mold both of them in a way where they can lead, they can be a semi-entrepreneur as well, because they need to be to grow.
Need to be entrepreneurial.
Entrepreneurial. Stay in, but think business. Help grow.
Yeah.
You know, take that leadership that I'm giving you and I'm teaching you, and I want to see how you can work with it. You know what I mean? So yeah, we could talk about that all day, like
100%.
You know, employing the right staff and whatnot, but you're going to go through 10 bad ones before you get a good one.
There comes a point though. So I love the idea of running lean, right? But there comes a point, like I was always like of the opinion, like I don't want to hire and hire and hire, right? Because I don't want to dilute the brand. I want to make sure we have quality.
Yep.
And then when you look at numbers, right? You go, okay, cool. Like our goal right now, we're setting our sights on like an 8-figure company. So we're trying to move to 10 mil. And it's like, okay, for that to happen, if we were to keep our current structure, right? Current price points, current this and that, each coach would have to work with an absurd amount of people. Not possible, right? Okay, cool. So we need to, over the next 3 years, we need to hire a total of like 12 more people.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That's like one option. Or we go, because that's a one-to-one aspect as far as like coach provides service to one client, right? Okay, flip the coin. Let's go. What's a one-to-many look like? How do we build a product that everyone can buy?
Yep.
And that's where we're going. Because I don't want to have to hire 12 people.
No,
like,
you can't.
that.
You can't, and it gets messy, and even online, right? So there's going to be a certain point there where you will have to employ more people to run that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you go. If you're good at what you do, you'll just be in high demand, and there'll be a point where you're like capped out. So being a good problem solver at how you cannot be capped out anymore is probably the key. You know, if you can find that it's not even a loophole. You've just got to find what everyone needs and wants.
Yeah, and then you just need to run the numbers.
That's it.
It's that, like, if you can run numbers, know your status as far as like how much of like what's your return on each individual, what's the LTV of each client, how much do they pay, how many people do you need to get your long-term goal. So that's simple. That's it. Man, thanks for coming on. I think we'll wrap it there. Give everyone a little bit of plug, who you are, what you're doing, and where they can find you and all of your businesses. Yeah, so pretty much, you know, if you listen to all of that, I don't want to be a coach for too much longer. But look, we want to help. I want to double, triple, quadruple what I've already helped. You know, you can find me on Instagram at Be Elite. The followers don't really mean much to me, to be honest. It's and here's another one I wanted to talk about before we go. But a lot of people would look at that number and say, "Oh man, you must be doing well" or whatever. But unless it's in your bank account, doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it has allowed me to work with some big companies like Rule One or whatever. They look after me really well, and you can find all of our businesses at beelite.com.
And look,
We'll chuck it up on the screen for the YouTube as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And look, we're about to jump into the pre-sales phase of the Elite. You know, hopefully open in January, and it's exciting. So yeah, thanks for having me on board. I really appreciate it, man. Like it's really good to connect with someone that I could learn a lot off myself. You know?
Yeah, likewise, bro. It's been a pleasure to have you. I'm excited to see what Be Elite does over the next 6 months. I think it's going to be. I know what's to come as far as getting the equipment in and all that kind of shit. Like, fuck, man. I don't wish that stress on you, but it's cool to know that it's you've done it before and you're going to be coming out that back end of it fucking in a good spot. So I'm excited for you, bro.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, and thanks for everyone. 5-star review, interact with it, do the stuff. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.